Science!
Hey guys, welcome to Science this week. We got a couple fun topics today. First is one that we don't talk about a lot. It concerns archaeology. And there has been some exciting developments in ancient tattoos. In 2017, Washington State University PhD candidate Andrew Gilbreth Brown was tasked to organize a collection of artifacts considered the Turkey Pen. This was about 60 or 70 different artifacts that had been collected in 1972 in the Greater Bears Ears landscape. And that's what this place looks like. It's absolutely gorgeous, and this entire landscape is rich with archaeological sites, and unfortunately has been in the news as of late because the government wants to restrict its borders and drill for oil there, thus hurting some of these archaeological sites. Now, a little bit of back on ancient tattoos. Tattooing is an art form and mode of expression common to many indigenous cultures worldwide. And in these communities, tattoos are commonly employed as powerful markers for achievement, group alliances, both for social and spiritual status. However, little is known about when or why the practice began, especially in places like southwestern United States, where no tattoos have been identified on corpses that we've found, mummies or anything like that. And that's what's really interesting, is that we know that the practice of tattooing existed. We just don't have very many examples to study from that time period, which makes this find that much more interesting. Archaeologists have relied on visual depictions in ancient artwork and the identification of tattoo implements to trace the origins of tattooing in the region. And again, that's really few and far between as well, until we found this tool, thanks to Andrew going through a bunch of artifacts excavated in the 70s. This tool, as you're seeing right now, consists of a wooden skunk brush sumac handle that is bound at the end with split yucca leaves. These leaves hold two parallel cactus spines with residue staining from tattoo pigments on their tips. When Gilbreth Brown created a replica of the tool, he was able to hand poke a tattooed line across pig flesh, much in the same way that ancient peoples would have done back in the day. And that's really exciting. Part of the reason it's so exquisitely preserved is because it was found in a naturally sheltered, dry cave alongside other organic artifacts, including hair, charcoal, maize combs, and even old feces. In an open site, these same items would have decayed and disappeared. So, I mean, it was super lucky that we even found this tool in a great condition or at all. Anthropologists studying this region are trying to understand the importance of Native American dress and body decoration before European contact. The existence of this tattooing tool, explains Gilbreth Brown, that it sheds light on the significance of indigenous traditions that were historically suppressed following European arrival to North America. And that is the case, is once the Europeans came over to North America, a lot of that old world, ancient people culture was lost to antiquity. And that's really a shame. But we're starting to uncover that thanks to being able to find stuff like this tattoo tool. The team dated the artifact to sometime around 79 to 130 AD, predating European arrival to North America by over 1,400 years. Its existence pushes back evidence of tattooing in Western North America by more than a millennium, suggesting it was used some 2,000 years ago by the ancestral Pueblo people. Before this tool was discovered, actually, the oldest tattooing needle found in Western North America was an artifact from Aztec ruins in New Mexico that dated between 1100 and 1280 AD. This also was made of cactus spines, 4 of them, and the handle was made from reed. This newly discovered tool could date as far back as 500 BC. I think that's really, really interesting that we're finding more and more about ancient people right in North America, because as much as we do know about the indigenous Native Americans, there's lots that we don't. And it's interesting that we even know that at one time their cultures did a lot with tattooing, even way back 500 BC, maybe even. But we have nothing to go on except for new findings like this. And I just think that's interesting as well in the day and age that we're in, because tattoos are much more commonplace now, I think, than they've ever been in history. And it's interesting to see the history of that practice as early as we can possibly find it in ancient peoples. And it's really neat. Speaking of history, this week marks very, very historical moment for all of us following space exploration throughout all of human history. For the first time, a commercially built and operated American crew spacecraft and rocket launched from American soil on its way to the International Space Station. And a huge congratulations goes out to everyone at NASA and SpaceX for making this happen. The SpaceX Crew Dragon spacecraft lifted off at 2:49 a.m. on Saturday on March 2nd, and the company's Falcon 9 rocket took it from the launch complex at Kennedy Space Center all the way to the space station. Jim Bridenstine, NASA's administrator, says today's successful launch marks a new chapter in American excellence, getting us closer to once again flying American astronauts on American rockets from American soil. I proudly congratulate the SpaceX and NASA teams for this major milestone in our nation's space history. This first launch of a space system designed for humans and built and operated by a commercial company through a public-private partnership is a revolutionary step on our path to get humans to the moon, Mars, and beyond. Also speaking on this was CEO and lead designer at SpaceX, Elon Musk, saying, first, a note of appreciation to the SpaceX team. It has been 17 years to get to this point, 2002 to now, and an incredible amount of hard work and sacrifice from a lot of people that got us to this point. I'd also like to express great appreciation for NASA. SpaceX would not be here without NASA, without the incredible work that was done before SpaceX even started, and without the support after SpaceX did start. And that's what's so amazing about this, is that just less than 2 decades ago did we finally start opening up for private-owned companies to start working on space exploration. And as patriotic as it is to talk about Americans rocketing up to the International Station and Space Station from American soils on an American-built rocket and Crew Dragon, this is a world effort, and it only adds to that world effort. Again, it's exciting that we as Americans are getting back into sending human beings from American soil to the space station, but that just adds to the Russians doing it, and hopefully very soon we'll see even China and other countries joining in, and we'll be sending lots of humanity up into space, to the moon, and beyond. And that is freaking exciting. The docking phase, as well as the return and recovery of Crew Dragon, may include a lot of first-time events. So this whole thing is going to be scrutinized by scientists on the ground and the astronauts in space. Previous Cargo Dragon vehicles have been attached to the space station after capture by the station's robotic arm, the Canadian arm. The Crew Dragon will approach to the dock using new sensor systems developed specifically for this spacecraft, new propulsion systems, and the new international docking mechanism to attach to the station's Harmony module forward port, fitted with a new international docking adapter. Astronauts actually installed this adapter during a spacewalk in August of 2016, following its delivery to the station in the trunk of a SpaceX Dragon spacecraft. And I have some really, really cool video that was shot by the International Space Station and the astronauts in Expedition 58 of Crew Dragon making its final approach. And here's that.
Station Houston on 1, stand by as Dragon is about to resume approach. Station copies.
And we just heard the call up to the International Space Station crew. Dragon is go for approach. You can already see the thrusters firing, so it's leaving that waypoint number 2 where it's been sitting at 20 meters away. Now it's time for the final docking.
At 20 meters, Dragon was just spitting distance away from that international docking adapter. Now it is closing those 20 meters in preparation for soft capture. Oh, this is a fantastic view of Dragon in the sunlight from the International Space Station. So normally when we're getting views from the Dragon for this webcast, you're going to be seeing a camera that's not quite on the center line, so it's a little bit off, and it may not look like we're heading directly towards the docking adapter, but if we're lucky enough, we might get some views from the centerline camera in the very center of the hatch from the space station, and you can see us kind of headed on right in. But right now, this is an unbelievable view from a space station. You can see Dragon 2 in full light with its nose cone open. Its soft capture ring deployed. You can actually start to see those 3 petals that I was talking about earlier on that ring, 120 degrees apart. That ring is extended above the hatch by 6 hexapod arms that are all attached to Dragon by springs. So that will be the first part of Dragon to make contact with the ISS. And when it does, those springs will compress and absorb and dampen any of the relative velocity differences between the space station and Dragon.
So absolutely incredible. It still blows my mind that we can rocket something up from the Earth and have it pinpoint itself onto the International Space Station. And we're doing this all with remote. There's no human being in the Crew Dragon at this time. And so, I mean, talk about being very good at a video game or the claw machine. This is like the ultimate of that. It's incredible to me. And also called Demo 1, this Crew Dragon is carrying more than 400 pounds of crew supplies and equipment to the space station and will actually return some critical research samples back to Earth that the astronauts have been working on. Also, a lifelike test dummy named Ripley. Fans of Alien, the Alien franchise out there will get that reference, that it also traveled on the Crew Dragon, and it was outfitted with sensors to provide data on potential effects on humans traveling in the spacecraft. And so it's a dummy, quote unquote, but it is the spacesuit, the new spacesuit that the crew will be wearing, and it's fitted with tons of sensors to really kind of get an idea of what it's going to be like to take flight on the Crew Dragon. Expedition 58 crew members actually entered the SpaceX Crew Dragon for the very first time. And I'm going to show you some video of that. And they're actually wearing some protective headgear. And that's only to avoid breathing any matter that may have shaken loose during launch. This is like using a brand new car and opening it up on the highway. You never know if like a little bit of dust or a little bit something might shake loose, and they just want to be as careful as possible while they're getting their readings. But here's some video directly from the space station again.
And there you have it. Dragon hatch is open. Ann McClain made the call. It was 5:07 a.m. Pacific. I think 8:07 a.m. Eastern time. I'm doing some quick math in my head, and that's the International Space Station and Dragon docked together, flying over the northern Atlantic, about 255 statute miles in the air. So the Dragon hatch is open. You can see an arm reaching in.
This is the very first time that humans have been on orbit inside of a Dragon 2 capsule. Or not any Dragon, a Dragon 2 capsule.
All right, again, so it looks like David St. Jacques, he's going to be the first one through. He's going to take some quick atmospheric readings. He's using a device that we have over on the U.S. side. There he is, David inside of Dragon. Human beings inside the Dragon spacecraft.
You might hear some cheers here from SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne. This is just an incredible sight for the SpaceX team to see these ISS crew members inside the capsule.
On behalf of Ripley, Little Earth, myself, and our crew, welcome to the Crew Dragon. Congratulations to all of the teams who made yesterday's launch and today's docking a success. These amazing feats show us not how easy our mission is, but how capable we are of doing hard things. Welcome to the new era in spaceflight.
Inspiring words by America's NASA astronaut Anne McClain, who is joined by her Expedition 58 crew members, David St. Jacques, the Canadian astronaut, and also cosmonaut and commander of Expedition 58, Oleg Kononenko. And incredible historical stuff. Now, when the actual Crew Dragon that's going to take the first group of astronauts up to the space station gets up there, it is primed to be able to dock at the space station for 210 days. Now, this Crew Dragon, the Demo 1, is not going to have that capability. This spacecraft will actually only remain docked for 5 days, departing on March 8th. And then from undocking from the station, the Crew Dragon will begin its descent to Earth. You'll be able to follow this live if you'd like on March 8th. It's going to air on NASA television and the agency's website beginning at 2 a.m., and the landing, the splashdown, should be resuming at about 7:30 a.m. That's Eastern Standard Time. And you can find all that on nasa.gov. And this photo is very historic of Elon Musk and Jim Bridenstine, both with the crew, the first crew that will be rocketing to the International Space Station on the Crew Dragon following the successful test launch. And they're all on the loading arm as they were getting ready for this test. But it's a historic photo because it's a lot of hard work that went into making this a reality. And it's really cool. We're all part of this history. Once the Crew Dragon actually starts transporting actual crew members up there, it will be able to launch as many as 4 crew members and carry still an additional 220 pounds of cargo, enabling the expansion of crew members, increasing the time to dedicated research in the unique microgravity environment that is the space station, and returning more science back to Earth. Right now, the normal rotation is 3 astronauts on the space station, and we have 3 living up there, and usually the next 3 will come up, so there's a very short window where there's 6 people on there where it gets crazy, and then 3 will come down, and sometimes it's not even that. It's variations of those numbers. This will allow for larger numbers of people to be able to be working on the space station, which, again, more hands means more work can get done, and that's really, really exciting. Musk goes on to say the whole goal of SpaceX was crewed spaceflight and improved space exploration technologies. I really believe in the future of space, and I think it's important that we become a spacefaring civilization and get out there among the stars. And I echo those sentiments because as humanity, as the human race, we need to become an interplanetary society. Many people in the field of astrophysicists and NASA and astronauts have all resonated this same idea that we need to have many more people working on a space station. We need to be making the space station on the moon, and we need to be making our way to Mars because it is just the next logical step in human evolution and the history of humanity. And it's really exciting that we're all a part of it right now. So keep following everything that NASA and SpaceX are doing because it's only going to get more exciting this year and the years to come.